Today we're going to be talking about soul groups. I don't want you to take this overly seriously. It's just kind of a fun thing to think about, and beyond fun, it can actually be comforting to sort of know that you're not alone in whatever you think that you or feel or you really are going through. There are millions of people going through the same thing, if not, slightly similar. I would wager the same. I've met enough people to know, yep, me too, me too, me too. How many times have you said that in your life when you met someone that, you're just happen to even maybe have a casual conversation and they feel like a long lost friend that you've known forever? And I will wager you have, just maybe not in this physical existence. So running into people where you have an immediate connection, you feel like you know them, you feel like you have so much in common, you feel in some cases closer to them than your own siblings, or other best friends. And in some cases, you actually can initiate and nurture and form a bond that remains lifelong. In other instances, it's just really, really a quick one-off and you never really forget the experience. You maybe learned something from it. They said something that, twigged a light bulb moment for you. And you always remember them. And even if you don't remember them, they will have impacted your life in such a way that you can recall a moment you saw something, met someone, heard something someone said to someone else or said directly to you. You formed a feeling within you. It triggered something at a very deep soul level within you, and you never saw them again. Something like that. This is very different than relationships that you form and you work through themes and roles and lessons. This is now talking about on a much larger macro scale, belonging to a group that shows you're not alone. So before we get here, and we're in the other dimension, okay, we choose our life theme, all of our lessons, and then we choose our groups, and then we choose our parents, and then we choose all of our other relationships or agree to them. So part of understanding the soul group I'm with makes it feel like, so I'm completely not alone. This is the group I chose. And maybe I can find my people. Maybe I can find my tribe. If you do go through something that's really quite devastating or traumatic, or in any other way it's impacting you where you are being offered an opportunity to learn from it. But that's fantastic if you recognize it. But you may also want to find your tribe, your collective, your group, whether it's just as a member or in some cases as a leader of one. And that's what the soul group does for you. So this could be related to loss. It could be related to, I'm thinking here of the Me Too movement, Black Lives Matter, any huge, the Berlin Wall coming down in the 80s. There can be soul groups that form as a country, as a culture, as a race, as a gender, as a marginalized group, as a minority group, both these groups making change in the area of rights, civil rights, human rights, political rights. You could go so far as to go a migrant soul group. The list is endless. And we may even be able to belong to more than one group. I'm just inviting you to think about, do I even care about this? And if I do, what group do I belong to? What are my lessons embodied in these certain themes that keep coming up for me? And why would this be? And the overarching answer is because you chose it, but you didn't choose to go it alone. Again, I want to emphasize that a soul group is different than relationships that are, showing us over and over and over again that we all have kind of the same life experiences. I'm not talking about major events here, like loss and other events, that are horrific. I'm talking about experiences that we all have: financial difficulties, relationship difficulties, any other lessons that, yeah, 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 you meet everybody and yeah, I've had that. Yeah, I've had that. Yeah, I've had that. The group comes in where not everybody experiences it, and not everybody needs to experience it. So not everybody loses a child on this planet, okay? There's millions of people who do, but there's less that do than don't, and therefore it puts you into a group. So that's how to identify a group versus just shared life experiences that come from dysfunction and adversity in general. We choose our pain and suffering as part of a soul group, whether or not we recognize it. That's up to us to basically decide or experience. But we choose the lessons from the pain and suffering and adversity within a certain, theme, story, arch, to basically find the peace, the joy, the happiness that I believe is our innate state. I have met many people, discussed with them, read over the decades, and no one says that we come here as babes, a mixed up mumbo jumbo of nerves and negativity and depression and trauma and all that. We come here as pure beings. And for anyone that's witnessed a newborn, whether you've birthed a newborn yourself or witnessed a newborn, or you've gone and visited someone who's just had a newborn, there's nothing like it to help us tap into love in its most pure, unconditional form. The lessons come as we get older. What I will just say as an add-on to that, we could go so far as to entertain the idea that for the babes that suffer, because I can hear people go, yeah, but what about the babies that, go through horrific abuse or, are murdered, or, a lot of things do happen to babies and young children and older children. And I'm recognizing that. That is a topic. It is a very sensitive one, and I'm very careful about sharing my thoughts on that because it's very, very difficult to accept the idea that we have chosen abuse for ourselves and that it's our responsibility for the incarnation. But that is on a whole different level than the physical experience of understanding that it isn't your fault and all of those things that therapy would take a person through. So that is not what I am advocating for or against here. I am merely talking here, expanding consciousness to the greatest extent you can to think about this. And if you have suffered as a baby or a child, and this is just not resonating with you, then this is absolutely not the information you need to be listening to and absorbing at this point in your life, if ever. So I just want to really say that I am sensitive to that, and I'm not dealing with those issues in the work that I do. I am only dealing with things on a much broader scale. I can deal with my own issue of losing a child to suicide and applying all these lessons to my own healing and growth and expanded consciousness. But how we're able to embrace information and decide to work with it to heal, expand our consciousness, and create a different life for ourselves, that's all very, very personal. So I did just want to acknowledge that. So when we're actually looking to reclaim this purity of love, of joy, of peace, of contentment in our lives, where we feel safe to the best of our ability and to the extent that we can as adults. I believe that the main reason we set ourselves up with these lessons of hardship and pain is to reclaim those feelings and that experience of joy, and I'll just call it purity here, because we've forgotten it. That is the biggest conundrum that I have grappled with in my whole entire life, is why would we forget it all to come here and have to relearn it all? And I don't think anyone has the answer for that, quite frankly. So I stopped wondering about it and just started to take on the information and the lessons and the themes and the everything else I'm talking about today, to the extent that I can do it, and then share what I know with others, but just not obsess about it. So while we do have this soul group, and then we do on another level choose the people we're going to go through our pain and suffering with in our various relationships and our various roles, the lessons that we learn are very personal. So even think about it for a moment, what you may be going through right now, what you have gone through, what you may go through in the future, that might be a little uncomfortable, if not downright painful. Who you go through that with, and that's why they always say grief is different for everybody, but who you go through that pain or that adversity or that annoyance or that anything with, you will be experiencing it a little bit differently. But as I like to say, grief, which comes from any type of loss or anything that's impacted you that has been painful and you're in sorrow about it, that's grief, right? We don't invent new emotions. We just experience the emotions to a different degree, maybe at varying times, with the people that are in our lives going through this experience with us. So why do we do this? Basically, to evolve as soul, spirit, and in the human form as mind and body. I see no other reason for it. Honestly, I cannot imagine that we're all choosing to come to this planet just to live in a state of stasis or suffering. There are oodles and oodles and oodles of lessons throughout our life. You could probably have a lesson every day. More to the point, you might want to think about, what have I experienced so far? What did I experience as a child? Who did I go through this experience with that was the most impacting for me? That was sort of my comrade in arms, if you will. What did I get out of this? What lessons did I learn as an adult looking back? What am I seeing now that, yes, if that didn't happen, this couldn't have happened? I'm not saying be grateful for it at this moment, if anything has happened to cause you pain at any point in your life, but I am saying, is there any piece of it that you can look at it and go, yes, I learned from that? Is there a community that you have connected to where you go, yep, we're all doing the same thing, more power to us? Has your experience or experiences, your theme that you're sort of living, has it made impact culturally, politically, globally? And you're part of that? Amazing. If you have any comments, leave them. I have a link to a personal growth journal I'm going to be putting in the description. It is a way to join my community where I'm going to be offering more information. If you want to be part of this community, download the journal. Some of the things in that particular journal might invite you to start thinking about, if not the soul group, certainly your relationships and why you've chosen them, and some of the experiences that you're going through. And if you haven't seen the episode on choosing your parents, I'll put a link to that one as well, and see if that can help you make sense of some of the things that may or may not be posing questions for you at this time in your life. Meantime, I want to thank you for watching or listening to this, and see you next time.